Hello, it is Sandy Spady with the Power Up Talk Show, a talk show where we bring together amazing people, community leaders, and my daughter. I'm so excited to introduce my future guest, my love of my life. But first, we're going to always start it off with Deion with Somber Cocktails.
Hello, Sandy. How's it going today?
Hello.
All right, so today, by special request, I am doing a tequila cocktail. I'm not going to say who requested it, just that it was a very special person. First, we're going to start out by icing our mixing tin. We already have our glasses garnished with a strawberry. And then we're going to add our creme de pêche. So for those that don't know about creme de pêche, it's basically a peach liqueur made in France.
Ooh, I love France. Oui, oui.
Our next ingredient is going to be our lime juice. Yum. I can already taste this. Our next ingredient is actually going to be our passion fruit syrup. Now the passion fruit syrup it just goes with tequila naturally, just like lime. And our last additive is going to be agave nectar. Now I like to add a little agave nectar because it balances things out and you don't have to use like simple syrups. It just naturally works. And then our star of the show is going to be our Luna Azul Tequila Blanco. La, la. And we're just going to give this guy a shake, and we'll be ready to serve. Pour that deliciousness into a glass.
Looks beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful, just like you lovely lady.
Oh,
Kind of matches your
Deion.
shirt a little.
Oh, this shirt ain't nothing but fun in a basket.
That's
love
what
it.
this show's all about.
And there we have our tequila cocktail.
Thank you. All right, let's cheers to Deion.
Cheers, Mother.
Oh my gosh.
Want to try this?
Whoops, it's kind of on my nose. Okay.
So fun fact with Deion, the first time I met him, usually everyone I meet is through you, Miss Connector, but with Deion, I actually met him just casually going into Proof one day. I told him I love tequila, and the drink that he served, this like specialty cocktail tequila drink for me, is now the logo of his company.
That's why we like
Full circle.
Deion. All right, well, the rabbit's out of the bag. It's my daughter. My guest is my daughter. And I'm just really proud of her on what she is doing. I empower women every day, like, just start it, just do it. Take that step for change. Do that entrepreneurship. And she must have been listening because she stepped into entrepreneurship. Katie, tell us what you're up to. What are you up to now? Tell everyone what you did and where you're at today.
What I did a lot of things. I got my degree in marketing and advertising, strategic communication. And once I graduated, I dabbled with advertising, and then I went to corporate communications, working in finance. Had I ever taken a finance class in my life to that point? No, but I did communicate well. And I communicated to probably 8,000 associates on a weekly basis. And then the next event led to doing more brand marketing work where I was working internally with like optimizing listings online. And then I went to public relations, and then I went to event production. And now I'm taking all of those things that go into that umbrella and pursuing it in an industry that I've always loved. I just never really knew I could do, which we can do anything, but every journey kind of led me to this one, which is now pursuing interior design, branding, marketing, all the things that I love.
What made you take that step? Because she had years of marketing, journalism, advertising, mass communications. And then all of a sudden one day she's like, Mom, I'm going to be an interior designer. I was like, okay. What is an interior designer? And what made you want to do that?
I think specifically I wanted to find a career that I loved. And it's not like I didn't love all of my other jobs in my previous experience. There was just some disconnect, I guess, in terms of what I was doing. And I think that big disconnect was that I just wanted to be fully present in my role. And, specifically in my role before becoming an interior designer, I loved every part of it. The only part that was difficult being an event producer is that you're constantly looking forward, like you're working towards one big thing or one big goal or one big event. And what made me feel more aligned and connected was being present in my day-to-day. And I realized in moments that you don't really, you think it's going to be one big aha moment of, I want to be an interior designer. It's not a big aha moment. They're all little micro moments that add up and you're like, okay, this is all starting to make sense. And finally, I think when I knew that I wanted to be an interior designer was when I heard someone say, what you do and who you are is when you know you are in complete alignment. And interior design is all about making things beautiful around you. Even if it's not really your definition of beautiful, I feel like what you love is finding the beauty in things. And I knew that I was good at it because I was doing it all the time for people that needed it to feel more aligned in their space or needed it to feel better about themselves. Or I even needed it in certain moments to feel more connected and, where I was living and to feel more at home with myself and with the people that I was living with. So, did that answer your question?
It did. How do you go about that, Katie? How do you go about having interior design path? How do you go about that?
There's different routes you can take. I know that I learn better by doing. Wonder where I got that from. And so I went and committed to doing a certification in Portland, Oregon at the beginning of the year. And I knew that I wasn't going to go back to school for it because I knew that if I learned how to do design differently, I wouldn't be really authentic of how I actually go about it. And I wanted to learn, the basics, but I also wanted to learn the business side of design and how to really, use what you're already good at and then make a living off of that. And I knew I could do it because, like I mentioned before, I worked in a huge Fortune 500 company that was going to be, my end all be all, and it was a finance company, and I never had taken a finance course in my life. And then my last career is a perfect example of being an event producer. I never went to school specifically for events, but I knew that I could do anything. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like I'm going to do this and I know what I'm doing. No, you never know what you're doing until you're doing it. And I just know that if I took my own path, I would always be guided in the right direction.
So when you talk about interior design, what part? There's so many different interior designs. There's homes, there's construction, there's staging, there's retail. How do you decide which avenue you want to go to?
I don't think I decide. I think I kind of decide what I want someone to feel like or how they want to feel in a space, and the right people come to me. And I think specifically like home and residential is going to be what I start off with, but down the road, I definitely want to commit to more commercial design. Or, if you think about it, another reason why interior design is like something we know is never going to leave is because we are always in spaces. That's forever. You will always be in a space, whether that be in a place you're renting, whether that be in a place that you're living, whether in a place that you're going to eat, whether it's a place that you're going to go work. Like, we are constantly surrounded by our spaces. And like I said, being present is very important to me, just because I feel way more aligned when I know I'm in an environment that makes me feel alive and makes me feel good. And I just know that I have, there's ways that I can decorate, but there's also ways that completely gutting out a home, but also making sure it stays in alignment with like the space itself. Like the space inspires me. Like there's some people who have windows from top to floor, and when you look outside that window, the art is really speaking for itself on the outside of their home. So how, instead of, distracting that beauty, are we complementing that beauty? And so, yeah, I mean, I'm just very diverse, and day by day, who knows, maybe one day I'll be like, actually, I don't want to do commercial business anymore. I want to go do boats. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But I mean, me and you work in that same way. I feel like it's very day by day, and whatever's supposed to come to you won't pass by you.
If you could pick your ideal customer, who would that be to work with?
Oh boy, an ideal customer. Someone who's open-minded, someone who trusts, and someone who is willing to be different. And obviously not like your space is going to be a reflection of who you are, but a lot of people, I think, get blinded by thinking that it needs to be like a certain theme or a certain style based off of like what's trending. And one of the first things I learned in interior design school was not to be like, I focus straight on traditional and mid-century modern, or because people, like everyday people, don't know what that actually entails. They hear it and they see it, so they think they're associating with it, but it's really combining who you are, what your story is, the home that you're trying to create, but also, finding elements of each thing. And so honestly, I forgot what your original question was.
Who would be your ideal customer?
Yeah, I said that was, bold, authentic, trusting, fun, good attitude.
What made you take the different choice? Because you just have said many different choices that you've done, from communications to marketing to events. What is it that draws you to design, from homes to real estate to commercial?
Yeah. I mean, every day people don't understand, like, the end goal is, how do you want to feel? And there are not a lot of things in life that we can control at all. Like, we can control how we show up, we can control our own thoughts, we can control our own feelings, our own emotions. But in the external world, it's really hard to control. You will never be able to control things. That's just the beauty of life. And I think knowing that there is an opportunity where you can create an environment that makes you feel good and makes you feel aligned, and you are in somewhat control of making it a reality for yourself, I knew that was something that just clicked for me, just because I was doing it without even realizing I was doing it. And, it all becomes part of the process of living life and going from one place to another unexpectedly. And you also, I think, need to use your gifts in a way that's not only fulfilling yourself, but for helping other people.
How do you like to help other people, Katie, as far as design, right? How do you find that you could help maybe with the community or nonprofits? How do you see that you can fill those different avenues of helping others? There's a lot of them, but what?
I mean, it's awesome. Like I said, how do you want? You are going to constantly be interacting with people on a day-to-day basis. But what's one thing that you're constantly doing every day is going back into your home at the end of the day and decompressing and being alone with yourself. And I'm very big on finding words for each year. You have taught me that. And, last year was my word. I chose alignment, and I have no idea why I chose that. It just kind of spoke to me, and alignment was feeling connected, mind, body, soul. And where do I go to feel connected, mind, body, soul? Oh, my home. And that helped me become more like, in touch with every part of my being. And when you pour into yourself, it's so much easier to pour into others. So much easier, because you're not pouring from an empty cup. And I think that I knew I could help people because they go in their homes and they just feel lost. And it's like, you already feel lost in an outside world the way it is. Like, the one place that you don't need to feel lost is your home. Like, that's where you go. That's where you reconnect. That's where you are like, wow, like, I'm so proud of this space that I'm in. Even if it's a place that is temporary. Like, you still need to make it feel like a space where you can be you, all versions of you. So that's how I know I can help people.
One thing that I saw in Katie is that a lot of beginning steps of being a designer is that she had friends that had moved or colleagues that needed to redo their home, and thrifting. My mother had a consignment store for 20 years, and so thrifting has always been kind of in our blood. But she found a way to enhance and renew and make a home their home without spending a ton of money. Katie, can you share with the audience how you have decided, like, help others by thrifting?
Honestly, I used thrifting as a way to just decompress from what at that time was my normal job. So when someone needed help finding something, but they didn't know exactly what they were finding, let's go thrifting. And there's magic in that because you don't know what you're going to find. And it's not like you're going to a West Elm or a Pottery Barn to find that specific thing. And obviously, there's some financial restrictions that people have when they're purchasing new homes or moving because you're spending a lot of time and money making that work. But it just, thrifting didn't feel like work. It was fun. And I didn't realize not everyone didn't have an eye for it when I'd be going with people and they were like, how did you find that? Or where did you get that? And, or going into a space and they, even, you know, in my outfits I would wear too, I feel like I would buy, if it was just something that's kind of trendy and not a staple piece in my wardrobe, I will go thrift it. And it's because I do have an eye for it. And I think part of it too is just using what I thought it in the past was something that was not benefiting my life, like some conditions in terms of like attention deficit. And I realized, you know, like ADD, ADHD isn't a negative thing. It's a strength because you actually, it's not that you're not paying attention. It's that you're paying a lot of attention to particular things. And it gave me a nice little dopamine fix too when you find something that you're not looking for. And yeah, so I don't know how I'm going to implement that in my interior design career because I do like working with wholesale trade accounts and vendors. And obviously when I'm working directly with those people, you are giving your customer a better deal too. But I think it's more about, I will include maybe a touch of, you know, a little thrifted item without even, you know, making it known because people don't even tell the difference. And it's just kind of a special thing that I like to do. Feels good. It's fun.
It is fun thrifting. Yes, you find little surprises everywhere. How do you find with collaborations? Collaborations with companies that you want to work with, collaborations with real estate, collaborations with any of them. Where do you find or where do you think would be a great collaboration for you starting out and wanting to expand in interior design?
Well, I mean, honestly, I wasn't fully committed to interior design until an opportunity was presented to me in a way where, you know, I just left, you know, said goodbye to my last role. And I was very intentional with making sure that I wasn't just going to jump into the next thing without it not feeling aligned. And I just said a prayer, put it out to God, the universe, whoever has that, you know, divine knowing that I want to be and I'm ready for whatever you want me to do. And I was always traveling the way it was. I was traveling back and forth from Arizona before I even fully, you know, moved to Arizona and come back here in between. But my friend's boyfriend's husband's wife, or his wife's, his coworker had a wife who was starting to launch an interior design company, but it wasn't a traditional interior design company. It was an accent interior design company. And they knew that I was potentially going to move to Arizona and that I was going to be looking into interior design, but they knew that I was also good at sales. They also knew I was good at bringing people together. And I learned a lot about collaboration through that role, just because I learned how to work more with contractors and I got to work with people who are working in design, but on very specific areas, accent walls, accent interiors, custom builds. And those collabs, I think, are going to be something I want to focus on more, just because I was always really hesitant on pursuing my own career because I love to be around people like you. I love to be a part of a team. And then I just had to kind of have a mindset shift of like, my team is going to be these contractors. It's going to be this architect. It's going to be this other offset type of design company who fully focuses on, accent walls. And you don't even think that you're like walls, but it's like, really, no, what do you want to add to a space? What color do you want? What textures do you want? How do I make this not look so boring? And I think the collaborations I want are going to, align in that path, but also I'm open to any collaborations, even if it's, for different types of businesses, or even let's say it's interview sets and you need to have a different set for, the speaker that's speaking. Everyone's different, and you kind of want to show a reflection of like who they are when they're speaking. So I'm open to any and all collaborations.
Well, there you go. It's out there on the audience now. Any collaborations? Katie Breidenbach is ready to collaborate away. Let's talk a little bit about Katie while we have time, because I think there's something that you should share with the audience that so many people have gone through, and that's type 1 diabetes. Okay. It was June 1st, 2008. 2008? Yeah. That was a huge moment for both of us. And it's like finding the new normal. There's no normal about diabetes, but slowly it becomes a normal. Share with the audience all that struggle, because that's something I feel like that someone's out there that needs to hear, that they've just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and share that journey.
Oh. Well, the first thing I think of when I was diagnosed, I was 13, and you have this like idea of yourself that you need to be in order to be loved, especially in your teenage years when you're just trying to fit in all the time. And when you get told that you have diabetes, I think that was like the first time where I was like, no, that's not supposed to, this isn't supposed to happen. Like, my body and how I, live day to day is something that I am in control of, I thought. And I was no longer in control because my pancreas just stopped working. And then there's all these, stereotypes of like, oh, diabetes, oh, you're not taking care of yourself, oh, you're overweight, or you're eating too much sugar, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. And it's sad because like the first person that I should have like consoled was going to be that future version of me, like, it's going to be okay, it's fine. But it was like automatically I was just thinking of these defense mechanisms, like these like explanations of explaining to people that this wasn't my fault, that I'm normal, that this is fine, I'm fine. But in reality, I mean, it was very scary. Like, if I don't have insulin, type 1 diabetics and other types of diabetes don't have insulin, you die. There's nothing about it that you can't really change. And so I think I also knew that I wanted to pursue interior design, because I remember, that week of my life so vividly, and like being in the hospital room and, going into the ambulance from Columbus, Nebraska to Omaha, Nebraska at that time. I felt it was very cold in the room that was, where we got the news that I had type 1 diabetes. But then we went to Children's Hospital in Omaha, and it wasn't ideal, but I remember just feeling a little bit more at peace because it was a little bit more homey and cozier and decorated. Like, I was 13, so I didn't really want to admit that like that space made me feel better, but it did. But I think type 1 diabetes was a huge, huge learning lesson for me in more than one way, because it helped me learn how to trust myself. I didn't have a lot of trust for myself for a long time after I was diagnosed, just because, like I said, I was always kind of on the defense. But then you realize your body's always speaking to you. And I learned how to trust my intuition more. I learned that if you care about what other people think of you, you're never going to be happy at a very young age. Because I was miserable for a while after I was diagnosed because I cared so much. And I don't think a lot of people learn that till they're already in the wrong relationship, or they're already in a job they don't like, or they're doing things that actually don't even bring them joy but bring other people joy. And so I think that was my biggest takeaway from it.
How do you deal with the new normal? I know as a mother, it was hard for me. Like, it's a new normal, it's a new normal. But what normal about tracking your carbs, taking insulin, making sure you can't leave without like a juice or, peanut butter crackers for a long lasting carb. How did you, going through it, I know it was hard for me as a mother, but how do you go through it going into 8th grade, right? How do you find your normal in that? And people out there that just got diagnosed, how do you tell them the new normal?
There isn't a normal. There's no normal. There's no normalcy to it. There's no normalcy to having to calculate every single carb that goes into your body. There's no normalcy into knowing that every movement you take affects your blood sugar at any moment. But that's what you realize is like, as long as you know you're doing the best you can, that's all that matters. And not doing the best you can for your doctor, not doing the best you can for your mother, not doing the best you can to make you feel like less of a convenience to other people around you. But I was, like I said, I don't think I did adjust at first. I think I just pretended I did. But all the bad things that happen in your life really are a catalyst to what makes you become your you say superpowers. I found my superpowers through those really shitty moments. Sorry, I swore on your camera. Through those really tough moments. And I think that I knew that my new normal was never going to be normal. But life isn't normal. As much as you try to make it fit into a normal, like the only thing constant in life is change. Whether that be with you, with your family, with your life, with your jobs. I mean, I was planning, like I mentioned, I was planning on staying at TD Ameritrade is where I was working for a very long time, and they got bought out by Charles Schwab, which was never expected because they were so big. So I got laid off at that point. And you realize, like, in those moments that are really, really bad, it's actually the catapult to something really great.
Nice. All right, Katie, how do we get a hold of you? How does someone's out there like, I have a new house, or I have a daughter that needs help with type 1 diabetes. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, I am still in the process of creating my website. So I actually create websites for other interior design focused companies. So I'm working with a few clients right now on that. And then I am creating my own. It's not 110% solidified, but I'm like 95% sure it'll be Katie Noel Interiors. So I did make an email address. That was katienoelinteriors@gmail.com. And I think that would be the best way. I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. We have different last names, even though you are my mother. My name is Katie Breidenbach. So if you need to find me, you know where to reach me.
Any last words?
Oh boy.
10 seconds and less. If you're looking at anyone out there, give me any advice of what to look for, what to be, where do they want to go? Take that leap.
Yeah, I would just say, know that when things aren't going your way, the universe, God is always working for you versus against you. Always, even when you feel like you're against yourself in that moment. But just take the leap. No one knows what they're doing, honestly.
Well, thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
My daughter, for being on my host. And this is Sandy Spady with Power Up Talk Show. Remember, it just takes that one person to find their belief in themselves and belief in others to make a change. Go make the change, go be the change maker, and just go live your life. Thank you.